Morning, everybody. Welcome to class. I'm Mary Carroll, and this is How to Survive Freshman English. Make sure you subscribe, get all my videos. I'm going to be here all semester posting for you to help you ace that class, okay? This morning, our topic is what is tone and how does it affect my paper? Tone is very, very important. Do you remember when you were little and your mom said, "Don't take that tone with me"? It means exactly the same thing. Tone is your attitude, and believe it or not, it really shows in your writing, and you want to be careful about it. So what is appropriate, an appropriate tone for a college level paper? Well, let's take a look at 4 tones. Obviously, we're going to settle on formal. That's really the appropriate tone for your paper, but I always find non-examples to be really, really helpful so that you can settle on exactly what a formal tone is, exactly what you should sound like, okay? So I would say the opposite of a formal tone is a casual tone. Now, I created a little infographic here that you should all get. Go ahead and ask me in the chat, where to get it, and I'll tell you where you can download it, okay? The casual tone is often found in digital content. You'll see it all over the internet. It is characterized by single sentence paragraphs, use of slang, use of very short sentences, lots of use of fragments. Okay, I've got an example here. Bet you heard email was dead, murdered by messenger bots, killed by AI. Yeah, that's a very casual conversational tone. Perfectly acceptable, in use all over the internet in digital content, not appropriate for a formal college level paper, unless, let me tell you, if you're taking a linguistics class, and in a linguistics class you're maybe evaluating casual conversation, and so you might find the discussion around that kind of an analysis might lend itself to some casual tone in your paper, perhaps, but otherwise, no, you are going to be adopting a formal tone. You will not be using the kind of casual tone that you're all getting accustomed to seeing on digital content. There's a time and a place for that. It's all out in the digital world. It isn't in your college papers, okay? Another tone, by way of non-example, is a mocking tone. You will see this often in comedy and in politics. Politicians will use this a lot. In fact, I have a political example here for you. See if you can guess who said this. It's man. Mr. Attlee is a modest man with much to be modest about. I'll let you think about that, see if you know who said that. It's characterized by direct criticism of a person and the actual person himself. This is not appropriate for most of the college papers. I'm saying most because I can't think of a time when you might do it, but 99.9% of the time you are not going to be adopting a mocking tone in your papers. Anybody guessed who said that? I'll give you one more chance. Mr. Attlee is a modest man with much to be modest about. That was Winston Churchill. Yeah, he was great for that kind of a thing, okay? Now, I'm going to give you an example of a formal tone. Formal tone is just relatively even. It's characterized really by complex sentences. If you're really getting very good at writing, you should have a variety of sentence lengths. Some will be short, some will be simple sentences, some will be complex sentences, some compound complex sentences. Yes, there is such a thing. And you should get very facile with mixing up all of these styles of sentences. All of that coming together creates a formal tone. You do not have to adopt long words and big words, 3-syllable words that you don't know the meaning of. This is not necessary, and you should not be doing that. The tone of the paper, even though it's formal, should still sound like you. It should sound natural, sound like you're talking to a person, but you maintain that respectfulness. And yes, it's elevated. I do think you should try to increase your vocabulary throughout your college career. You should. But don't just look up words in a dictionary and stick them in your paper because you think you're going to impress your professor. Do not ever do that. But still, a formal tone is important, and that's what your paper should aim for, okay? The extreme end of that, if we're thinking about a range of tone, is pompous. Now, there actually are, quite a lot of pompous academic papers out there. And you should not go in that direction. I have an example of a part of a sentence, and I couldn't put it all on my little infographic because the sentence is so dang long that it wouldn't fit. But I'm going to read you a part of it. Now, this is an example of pompous, okay? The unfolding of an ego-logical immanence, the autonomic and automatic deployment of predicates or possibilities proper, blah, 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 blah. Yeah, I took this from my least favorite philosopher. I'll tell you who in a minute. These are characterized by excessive use of three-syllable words. They are adopted specifically to intimidate the reader. Now, if you find yourself trying to do that, like I just want to intimidate, I want to use language that excludes the reader from what I'm saying, you need to stop that. The goal of really good academic writing is meant to be inclusive, is meant to enter into a conversation that's already going on and enjoy that conversation, enjoy having that conversation, add something to it, and get used to speaking to people who are thinking on an elevated level. Okay, so you should not be trying to exclude anybody in your papers, all right? The example of the pompous example that I gave you is from Jacques Derrida, who was a French philosopher from the 1970s. Never liked him. Anyway, I'll give you an example of a decent formal tone that you should have for your papers. This is a part of a sentence, but it says, the answer is critical to students of romantic studies who seek to know in what manner, blah, 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 and it goes on and on, okay? All right. Now, how does this affect your paper? Well, it does. It affects the reception of it. It affects the reader as the reader's reading. You want to welcome him or her into your paper, and you want to convince him that you're right. So you want to do this in a way that does not exclude the reader, that does not, that is inappropriate for the topic that you're handling, and you certainly don't want to be making fun of anybody in your paper. So you're going to adopt a formal tone in your papers, okay? Okay, good. So our next lesson will be the difference between a topic and a thesis. This is very important that you understand this. The thesis is the most important part of your paper. So make sure and check in tomorrow for that one. I'll see you then. Bye.